Yo, what's going on, you guys? Bastion Wadger here, and my boy Brandon here at Heroes Hideout, here with the sauce today. What do you have for us today, Brandon?
Super heavy goatee.
Super heavy goatee. Now, I honestly never thought this was a combination. What inspired this this conglomerate, I guess you would say?
Well, I did see a little bit of neck decking from MBT's Jank Thing series.
Okay.
But the main thing that happens is that the super heavies are a synchro enabler for ranks level 6, which Ariampos, your main playmaker, is a generic level 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Makes sense. All right. Awesome. So I know that with the ban list and everything, like it hurts a lot of pure super heavy samurai players, Sprite super heavy where it might be. This is looking like it's going to be the next best deck or next best version of super heavy samurai moving forward. What do you think, honestly, of testing this deck?
Well, the nice thing is that no cards that I'm currently playing were on the ban list.
Plus,
You know, no, people don't expect a goatee, right? The space fish are cool. People don't expect a goatee. They see you scale Wakaushi, they're like, oh man, it's Barone Apo plus Warlord Savage. And I'm like, no. I'm gonna make Ariampos and I'm gonna synchro on your turn. It's our turn, baby.
it's always our turn. All right, bro, let's get with the sauce. What you got?
Cool. So starting with the super heavies, you play 3 of the bike. You know, discard.
Okay.
This is basically the ideal 1-card combo. Of course, you have the target, which is 3 Wakaushi, usual stuff. You scale up a Benkei, you get the search as long as you don't have spell traps in your grave. Which, spoiler alert, the goatee spell traps are pretty garbage.
Understandable.
Yeah, you're not going to play them. The exception is the field spell, which can unbreak your hand. But the field spell has a mechanic to get itself out of the graveyard. If you normal or special summon a fish while it's in there, it'll just pop right back out.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's busted.
Yeah, I mean, busted.
I mean,
great soft, it is
it
not.
helps. It's synergy. It synergizes very well.
Yeah, so that's the 8s. You got the 3 starters, the 2, probably the hardest Garnet, and then you have the 2 targets. You have the Soul Claw and the Soul Gaia booster.
Okay.
The Soul Claw is nice because it doesn't care about spell traps in grave. Attaches to the Wakushi, special itself, that's 6 for the Ariampos. Otherwise, you can be boring, and if you started with Bike and put Bike in the grave, you go for Soul Gaia, you can do the usual, Barone line. So those are the 2 targets, and these are the softest of Garnets. They'll take your normal, but they're not tuners, which is important. So that is 10 super heavy. Then you move on to the goatee. For the goatee, it's still pretty straightforward. This is definitely the most in progress part of the deck.
Okay.
You start with 3 paces. If you have another fish in hand, paces can be a starter. Most of the time, he is just a jerk that you want to banish no matter what, because he'll come back next standby phase. Next is 3 Shift. Shift is a little kinder than Paces. While he's in the grave through various means, you banish him for cost, target a fish you control. That fish gains 500. We don't care. It banished itself. It's going to come back next standby phase. After that is 2 Snopios. Snopios is so frustrating. Snopios is the grease that makes your wheel turn, but he is not a starter by himself. He is annoying in that you have to remember what you target on his summon to banish when it leaves the field. Including himself, which I forgot multiple times that he banished himself and I could banish a fish to add it back to hand. The nice thing though is that this is the closest you'll get to playing on turn 0.
Okay.
Snopios plus 2 fish in your hand and or graveyard means that you can banish 2 fish and special himself. So ideally you would have Snopios and then Zep in hand for your opponent going first.
Okay.
Zep is kind of the oddball tuner. Honestly, almost wish he wasn't a tuner. His thing is that instead of the whole come back and stand by the turn after you banish him, during your opponent's turn if he's banished, he'll come back immediately, and then New Chain immediately you have Secret Summon a fish. So you can't wait on it like you can these guys, but if you get him during your turn, it's just a whole full combo on their turn. Very nice, very annoying for the opponent because they're like, okay, are you done yet? No. Are you done yet? No. Are you done yet? No. Another nice thing is that since it's all basically dedicated to happening on your opponent's turn, against the Kashtira matchup specifically, they go, oh, well, Fenrir effect. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'll just synchro that away. It doesn't matter. Unicorn, a little more annoying. You know, the usual.
Right.
And then finally, this is the card that I regret not paying more of.
Really?
Exceep is the common. Important, he is not a tuner, he is a fish, and he is a goatee. His whole thing is that if a fish is banished, he can summon himself from hand. It also works as the field spell target. We're only playing one field spell because we don't want spell traps engraved. Field spell, it's so bad compared to the rest of Poe, right? All of the like Tyrley field spell and the Kashtira field spell, they're like, activate it, add a thing to your hand, just have fun. This one's like, no, you gotta pay the troll toll. You have to banish a fish from hand to do your search, which is a blessing and a curse because you'll banish Paces or Shift. They'll be coming back next turn, but then you just get Ashen. It doesn't matter that they're coming back next turn, right? Thing is, if you banish a fish and then search Exceep, I'm assuming that's how you say it. Exceep, once added to your hand, can then just immediately special himself right there. So if you draw field spell plus fish, that is full combo on your opponent's turn with Ariantos. You know, the usual. Play 3 Exceep. Don't be like me. Don't be stupid.
Play 3 of the common.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, at least cut 1 Zep to 2, so that you have 2 Exceep, 2 Zep.
Okay.
After that, we have the generics. We got 3 Lifeless Leaf Fish. This is the 1-card starter. Getting it Ashed or Imperm really hurts. But the idea is you normal summon Lifeless Leaf Fish. It gives you a Foolish Burial of a fish. You send Schiff, who in grave then activates his effect to banish himself and give him 500 attack till the end of the turn. Don't care. During your opponent's standby phase, he comes back. That's 6.
There you go. And then you can quick effect synchro summon, right?
Yes, but it does have to be a fish if you're synchro summoning with the goatee effect.
Gotcha.
So sometimes that can be annoying. The way you get around that, though, is 2 Hoppier Squadron. This is a necessity. If you're not playing Hoppier Squadron and goatee, you are doing something even more wrong than I am.
Wow, okay.
During your opponent's main phase, target a monster you control, summon this, synchro with it immediately. This is how you make the non-fish synchros on your opponent's turn, which comes up sometimes. There's one particular target you always want to go for, which is Ruddy Rose Dragon.
The bane of my existence. Got it.
A lot of decks want their graveyards to be set up after turn 2 or 3, which is when you would be activating this. Just banish that entire graveyard. Screw them. They don't need it. It does also proc some of your goatee effects. Like, for instance, if you have Zep in the graveyard and you Hoppier into Ruddy Rose, that banishes Zep during your opponent's turn. Not only do you get Ruddy Rose, Zep will summon itself. Usually you won't do an extra synchro after that, but Ruddy is pretty big, and at that point you've interrupted quite a bit. After that, we have a little bit of spice. So even though we're playing super heavy, we are playing a total of 5 spells. These are the important 3. Crossout Designator.
Okay.
This is good against hand traps, of course, but it's also a starter for any of the goatees. This is a 1.5 card starter. You have to have a non-tuner for it to work. If you cross out Designate, either Paces or Shift, they will come back in the next turn, because even though you can't declare their effects this turn, the whole comeback during the special or during the standby phase, that's not an effect that activates that turn. It's not like Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. It's straight up, if they're there and they were sent there last turn, they're coming back.
Nice.
Very convenient. And of course, you can always use it as a hand trap target. Speaking of which, our 5th and final spell is a target. Dark Ruler No More kills you. We're on 37 monsters. If they negate all your monsters, what are you gonna do? Nothing. And of course, you can always use it on your own, because Goatee loves simplifying the game state. If you Dark Ruler simplify the game state, you're in a pretty good position. Then we move on to hand traps. Currently, I am playing 8 of them, 9 if you include the Dark Ruler.
Right.
Pretty standard. 3 Ash. We're playing 3 Ghost Ogre because super heavy, and then we are on 2 Droll because I own 2 Droll. I don't own 3 Droll. I own 2 Droll.
Understandable.
So 2 Droll. That is all for the main deck. Like I said, 35 monsters. and then 5 spells. I win. 10 super heavies, and the rest are goatees and then the free agents.
Right.
From there, we move on to the extra deck. Right now, the extra deck sucks because Diablosis and Unicorn are still around.
Right. Not for long.
Now that Diablosis is gone, I can actually run like a small link package. Sprint to send a shift to the grave. It's going to be very nice to target a fish and then banish it. And then you could go something like IP and then Sprint and then like Abramax or like a random boss monster. Just something, you know, to get the engine rolling while you stir up the diesel engine that is the Goatee cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of getting it started, the big play starter is Arianpos. On summon, banish a 6 or lower fish from deck. That is any goatee, that is any fish, but you want it to be a goatee.
Understandable.
Typically speaking, if you make this on your turn, you usually want to send Snopios. Snopios, when banished, you banish a fish from your grave, you add Snopios to your hand, then you can go crazy. If it's during your opponent's turn, typically you want to send Zep, because Zep will come back, you'll immediately synchro, you'll go into the 8, which is Ozcon, currently playing 2 of. Ozcon is on summon, target a fish you control and a card on the field, banish them both. Sounds terrible until you realize that if you banish himself, you can banish a fish from your grave, bring him right back. Once per turn on both of those.
That sounds pretty busted to me.
He's really good for the sticky situations. Your opponent makes something with IP, just banish it instead. We don't care about destroying. Speaking of banishing instead, we're playing 1 Googlip. This one's sus. People say it sucks. I say this is your rogue out. They make Aphromax. Guess what? You're just going to banish it. It doesn't matter if it gains attack. They make Goddess. You're just going to banish it. Doesn't matter. This is your combat winner no matter what. Doesn't matter like how many things you have banished. You just fight with this guy once per turn, hard once. Banish whatever he fights. Not quite Fenrir, but close enough for what Goatee is. And then he does have the secondary where you can bring back his materials. I've never resolved that effect. I don't intend to. It sucks. From there, we move on to the 10, the big boy, Goatee of the Deep Beyond. Currently playing 2 because Diablosis and Unicorn.
Understandable.
This is your blowout, like big nuke. Key thing is that if he leaves the field and is banished from the field, he comes back during next standard phase. So if he is like non-destruction removed by banishing, he's coming right back. If you're ever in a position where you target Goatee of the Deep Beyond with Snopios' banishing when he leaves the field thing, 99% of the time you're winning. Because he's just going to come right back. And this guy gets big. 500 times however many banished monsters. If you have activated Ruddy Rose Dragon, he's going to be real good.
For sure.
Yeah, the games I won, he ended up with like 6,000 attacks, 7,000 attacks, smack per game. Pretty straightforward. After that, we have 1 more fish synchro. This is White Aura Whale.
There you go. Classic.
Got to be careful with this one because it's a win effect. So you got to be careful about where you like chain the synchro summon. But as long as you're like in an open board state and you smack one of the goatees into White Aura Whale, that's a Raigeki. Against a lot of strategies, that is enough. Not against, you know, Kashtira or whatever, but boards that like Sprite makes that don't have red, boom, you win. From there, we move to the generic synchros. Currently, I've got 5.
Okay.
We have Excel Stardust, the expensive boy. This is for the, you know, boring Barone line for the super heavies. I don't like making Barone, but you know, it's what wins. The key thing though is that you do in fact want to run Stardust for the secondary effect. All of the goatees are like synchro summon a fish. And usually that's cool, you know, Deep Beyond looks cool, Googlim's cool, Ozcon's a banish, Arianpos is an engine piece. Game winners, they are not always. So being able to activate the Excel Stardust to quick effect synchro using the same even levels means you can go into some of these bad boys.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. So of course you got the Barone, usual. Funny enough, the Barone effect to shuffle itself back and special a 9 or lower during the standby phase, very good in go-to because all of their like synchro summon effects are like if it was summoned this turn during your opponent's turn, that's when you get the quick effect synchro during the main phase. And of course, it's the negate and it resets that. Then of course, like I said, Ruddy Rose will banish everything in the graves. You can make Deep Beyond real big, real fast with that. Very satisfying to pull it off, especially in Master Duel right now. And of course, Shen Ying. Shen Ying is my favorite 10 synchro aside from Deep Beyond right now. Once per turn, you get a banish when you banish something. Spoiler alert, you're going to be banishing all the time. All the Goaty stuff makes the circle from field, grave, banish, field, grave, banish, field, grave, banish. It's great. And of course, it'll banish stuff to protect itself from card effects. So, they try to destroy it. Guess what? You just gave me pieces for free on your turn.
Full circle.
And then the final card is level 12. Big boy.
Okay.
We're not playing a lot of spell traps, so every once in a while his effect to draw when your opponent activates one will come up. Most of the time, this guy is the backup plan. If for some reason you're not going to be able to go into your Synchro Fish, you can do the Wakaushi line, and instead of like adding a Soul Guy or whatever, like if that gets ashed, you can just do the other super heavy Wakaushi effect to special a super heavy from your deck in defense. Just summon the second Benkei. Make a 12. This guy's 12. He's big. He's 4K. They gotta do something about it. He's, like I said, the backup plan, but he does occasionally come up as like your game ender, because I mean that's half their health. What are they gonna do? They're gonna die. So that's all the main deck and stuff. The last thing to talk about would be the side deck, which is probably where the most spicy part comes into play.
Okay.
I'm playing, like I said, 10 super heavies. I'm playing a couple spell traps, and I'm playing the Goaty. We can change that drastically when our opponent says, "Oh, I can side out all my spell trap destruction," by playing Runic. So,
where'd you come up with this, my friend? Because siding in this, this against me, and I was so thrown off.
I play tested at home, and I was like, God dang, man, I need a level 4 non-tuner on the field. Guess who is a level 2 non-tuner to put on the field? Jerry. Good old Jerry.
Hey, Jerry.
So the idea here is that all of the Runic spells are instant fusion for Jerry, who is a level 4. All of the tuners that we want to use are either level 4 or level 2. The Goaty synchros that are level 6 and level 8, the two they add up to, are generic. Arion Post, completely generic. So if you Jerry plus tuner for Ariampos. You have a Goaty tuner in grave, Ariampos banishes the other Goaty tuner, and all of a sudden your engine's spun up. Not to mention that the Runic are some of the best spells you can run at the expense of your battle phase. Which, spoiler alert, Goaty is like the long-term plan. Goaty is like, you're gonna do your thing, I'm gonna do my thing right after you do that and banish all that crap. Get it out of here. Runic from there can just be like, oh, well, how about you banish a couple cards off the top of your deck too, so you lose all your searches. So we're playing 3-tip, let you get the Runic that you're looking for.
Of course.
We are not playing Runic Fountain. Runic Fountain, good, but not when you're going to banish everything on the field. I don't want to be in a position where I have to go, oh crap, do I summon Deep Beyond and banish everything, or do I save my Runic Fountain? I just want to go Deep Beyond, I win.
Right.
So tip is to search for the rest of the spells.
Okay.
We're playing 3 Smiting Storm.
Okay.
If we are on the Runic engine, odds are we either care really much about the monsters, the spells, or the deck. If your opponent does a ton of searches for 1-ups, extenders, super heavy for instance, where you're playing a ton of 1-ups and hand traps, Smiting Storm is one of your outs to that because you banish engine pieces, inevitably, because they're gonna put 8 cards on their board between back row and front row, and then you just banish 8 cards from the top of their deck. I have indeed won by deck out against Kashtira. I don't want to get super heavy with deck out yet, but that's mainly because I haven't played him much. After that, We got 3 Destruction. Spells and traps are really good. Destruction on Castira Birth, or the field spell is good. Castira Birth on like a super heavy scale can be good. It's just like Ghost Ogre where they Wakuushi, you're like Destruction, too bad, you're done.
Yeah.
Not to mention that banishing 4 by default is a very high number.
For real.
Yeah, so against like Labyrinth or whatever, I would side those in. On the same token, we are playing 2 Flash and Fire.
Okay.
Flash and Fire, the reason I cut it down to 2 is because destroying monsters isn't as good as you think it is. Castira will bring them back with Birth. Labyrinth will bring them back with some BS, Call the Haunted even. I'll bring them back by banishing them and then summon them during the standby. So it's usually like an either or. I would rather negate, which is where Freezing Curses came in.
Understandable.
Freezing Curses banishes more cards off the top than Flashing Fire, and it'll negate the Aluber but leave it on field. It'll negate the Castira but leave it on field. You know, it kind of makes people stumble. And then I just bought a second Jerry in case that comes up.
Okay.
That's not part of the side deck. So typically what will happen is game 1, if I see Super Heavy, my opponent goes, oh cool, Super Heavy Goaty, that's kind of weird. And then game 2, whether I win or lose, I'll side out all 10 of the Super Heavies, and I'll side in 10 of the Runics. Then I'll side out Big Boy, the level 12, because I'm always going to have a Spell Trap Engrave at that point.
Right.
And I'll side in the 1 Jerry. So now I have Jerry as a target for any of the Runic to get me started. If I go first, all these is just instant fusion, make Jerry, normal summon a tuner, make Ariampos, my engine is rolling.
All right.
Alternatively, if I go second, my opponent, does their thing, and then I go, oh, okay, well, I'll just destroy your Arise Heart with, Freezing Curses or Flashing Fire to, stop it from doing anything. And then from there, I am free to play. So yeah, that's Super Heavy Goaty. It's still got a few kind of kinks in the engine. Number 1 issue I had today was bricking on too many tuners.
Okay.
All of the hand traps are tuners, and that is really annoying to me right now. Like Ghost Ogre, tuner. Ash Blossom, tuner. They're all tuners. Make it stop.
Yeah.
But you gotta play them, right?
Yeah.
Hand traps, you gotta play them.
Got to play 'em.
Right now, I'm on the 8. But I'm considering bringing it down to 6. Depends on how good Ghost Ogre stays, because Ghost Ogre was mainly for the Super Heavy matchup, which we have other ways to deal with, especially with the Runic stuff.
Right.
And I mean, we're doing the same thing that Super Heavy is, to a slightly lesser extent. We're going to discard Bite, we're going to get to Burrow, possibly even further. Then on their turn, we're going to banish stuff. That was another really good thing about this deck that didn't really come up today, but came up a lot last tournament. It's a good mix between targeting and non-targeting, banishing and destruction removal. You come at them from a bunch of different angles. So no matter what the other guy is doing, you have a pretty good chance of getting it out. Like I just played against a guy playing Sprite who ended up making Avermax off of IP. It's like, oh man, all these monster effects, all these special summon monsters. What am I gonna do? Summon Google Glim, go to battle, banish that, get it out of here. Like I said, that's your rogue option.
Yeah.
Currently, the issue is that I have, how many was it? 9 1-card starters. I'm considering putting in Small World. All of the Goaty are water fish with 0 attack, with like 1 exception, and they are levels 2, 4, and 6. That means that Gamciel, the Kaiju, is a Small World bridge from any Goaty to Lifeless Leaf Fish, the normal summon that starts your whole engine. Alternatively, I've considered going further in on fish. A lot of people tech in Mina Iruka when a Water Monster's effect is activated, Special It or something like that. Very nice, except that in the situations where you would need Mina Iruka, you're stuck where you can't actually activate a Water Monster effect. The exception would be like you draw a Mina Iruka, a fish, plus Paces, and you normal summon Paces and use Paces. The only problem with that is if it was any other fish beside Mina Iruka, like Lifeless Leaf Fish or whatever. That's just your engine starting by itself instead of just an extender sitting there. Let's see, what else? Deep Sea King Coelacanth. That is coat. Don't bother. It sucks. Yes, it sounds nice to special it off of paces and special like 6 fish or whatever. The levels and the tuners and the once per turns just end up making that not worth it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can summon a bunch of material and make like Appaloosa or whatever. Again, not worth it. The one time it will happen, it will be in the casual game 3 after you've already bricked twice and lost.
Gotcha.
Ask me how I know.
Alright.
The other one that people like to run is Soup 8 Duskwalker. Level 5, discard a card from your hand, special Soup 8 from deck. That's a 6. The problem with that is, unless you are discarding like Soul Piercer exactly, that is not worth it. You're too strapped for cash, so to speak.
Okay.
You don't have enough other stuff going on for you to discard something willy-nilly and then get to Arion Post. It doesn't put a fish in your grave, which means that your cycle isn't going to be fully fired up. Even if you banish a fish, all that's going to do is you bring that fish back during the standby phase. You can synchro with Arion Post for an 8 or whatever you normal summon if you have a normal summon. But Ozcon will banish a fish and something they control. He's going to have to banish himself. You can't bring him back if you don't have a fish in grave. So your engine stalls at like the most important part.